This has to be one of the most satisfying isekai character deaths I've seen, because when you end the previous episode of My Instant Death Ability with this dude approaching a king, trying to swing like he has some big D energy going on, and he says no and cuts the fool's hands off or his fingers off, and the dude's he's on the floor in pain for obvious reasons. The king leaves saying, oh yeah, once I'm out of your way, he'll regrow back. And I'm like, well, at least he got punished, but it would have been nice if he kept it that way. You got a bad vibe from this dude. Fast forward 15 minutes later or so in the episode, he's chilling at the inn with his other two stooges, and this girl comes in and beats him literally to a pulp and doesn't stop, like no one can do anything. And as his lifeless body is laying on the floor, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna kill one of you every single day, spread the word. And I'm like, I don't necessarily have a reason to despise this character as much as I do, but there was something so satisfying with the previous episode punishing someone who deserved to be punished, and then the anime saying, hey, you probably were a little disappointed that his hand came back. Don't worry, we're gonna go the extra mile. Absolutely brutal. I have a full live reaction to this week's episode of My Instant Death Ability over on my Patreon. If you want to see my full uncut thoughts, they're over there if you're interested. Now, overall, this was a weird episode, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna use weird as a compliment or an insult or maybe both, but overall this kind of felt like they threw 20 episodes at you, and each little piece of the 20 moments or so of all these different character interactions, they make sense. Like, you can follow each of them, you're like, okay, I see where that story is going, I see where this character's going, and where all these events are leading, but it's like there was no breathing room. It was just boom, 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 and they just kept throwing, and I'm like, holy shit, like, let's calm down for a second. But I will say, this is the type of episode that makes me more eager and hungry for a season 2 than any of the previous episodes. As overwhelming as an episode like this kind of feels, just given how much they throw at you and how little breathing room there is, like watching an episode like this, you kind of wish you had the next couple of episodes to see where they're taking it next. It does get you very optimistic for the future of the story. Now granted, some characters understand what they should be doing with Yogiri, which is bending the knee and saying, yes, sir, anything you need, sir. Do you need your laundry done, sir? And then, of course, there's people in power who think, oh, we just need to kill him and all's well that ends well. I mean, I don't understand this woman, like, at all. I understand the, like, uncertainty of someone who's doing things in ways you've never seen, but when the person who can read and see, like, the future of where shit's gonna go is in the fetal position, terrified and refusing to leave her room, maybe, just maybe, you should either leave the guy you're trying to kill alone, or just say, do you need anything, sir, and get him on your good side. But hey, what do I know? I'm sure she's gonna be just fine. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. She's gonna die if she's gonna attempt anything. But this was the type of episode that was very setup focused while also showing you a lot. We are now reunited with the whole class, which means we have, like, I don't know, probably a good 20 characters or so we're gonna follow in terms of that class dynamic. Now, granted, Denora and obviously Yogiri kind of a little bit separated, so we got to see both of their sides, and they have good cover stories of what their abilities are. I mean, I think Yogiri's cover story is brilliant. He has instant death abilities for, well, insects, which is good because, you could kind of make a few jokes out of that, like, oh yeah, he actually had insect DNA, that's why I killed him. But as it stands, we can see how he's doing just well with the sword, and obviously there's going to be plenty of ways that he could instantly kill something and make it look like, oh, it was actually this attack or something else like that. The biggest, like, surprise for me is because every time a character gets introduced, they always have, like, a little character sheet saying, like, oh, this is their ability, this is their name, this and that, and then you see this one dude with instant death, and I'm like, wait a gosh darn moment, what are we talking about? Which is fine, because if you throw instant death against someone who is literally the embodiment of the end's always gonna win. Like, that's what separates Yogiri from these other characters who can just one-shot people, because rather than Yogiri being the type of character who kills, he ceases your existence. Like, it's over. The strands of your life, your existence are just done. There's nothing beyond him. And they're setting up a lot of interesting plot points. The thing that makes it feel overwhelming is it's like they threw an entire core of, like, character interactions at us all at once, which I guess makes sense, and you can make an argument, well, they're all in one location now, so this kind of makes sense. And like I said, all the individual pieces, like, when you're just focusing on them, it's like, okay, but it's almost like you're expecting to continue to focus on that, and then there's a new scene, a new character, and it's like, there's a shit ton of characters. Like, this is how it's gonna be. It's fine. It is what it is. Even if you're reading a source material, I feel like I'd have a similar comment about overwhelming just because there's so much shit going on. The only thing that's gonna be a shame if this actually turns out to be a one and done season, because there is a lot of potential for the story in all these individual character interactions that are currently going on. Characters that I thought were gonna be jokes and memes that we threw into the forest and said, "Go fetch, boy." They're still jokes and memes, but they're kind of fun to follow when they have out-of-pocket lines like, "That's not how femboys are supposed to be," and I'm like, what even is this character, man? But you know what? If you die someday, I'm not gonna shed a tear, but if you keep him around, I'm probably gonna laugh at his stupidity. Like, I'm not gonna say this is like my favorite episode of My Instant Death Ability. I'd probably put it as one of my least favorites, not in the way that I think it was bad, but there's going to be episodes you like more than the other. This one was very, like, packed full of so much stuff that I think, for me, this is the type of episode that makes future episodes more enjoyable because you got the setup out of the way, you got these initial interactions out of the way, and you start to think about where the future of the show can go. Very important, very needed, but goddamn, I kind of wish I had this was an hour-long episode, because it's like, okay, you're throwing so much at me, now I gotta wait 7 days, now I gotta wait 14 days to really see that payoff. But you know, that's how weekly experiences go. I think there's probably going to be an even split for this episode of people saying, actually, I liked how much it threw at me, I didn't find it overwhelming, and people saying either it maybe felt rushed or there was too much happening. I feel like I'm kind of in the middle, but it's just like, I need more. I need to see where you take this, because if you're going to give me like 20 students on this side, we got all the villains and goddesses and all the other BS that's going on behind the scenes, we need to see where everything's truly gonna go, and there's a lot of potential. There's much more potential for a story that started off as such a meme and a parody of the Isekai genre, that it gets summed down to is Yugiri just wants to go home, and we have all these different stories, and Yugiri has accepted that he has to do a big event. He has to go through the flags, he has to go through a quest line, and that's when he'll be able to go home. So we're in a situation where the story should be getting interesting, and that's why it's a shame this wasn't actually a 2-core, because man, like, there's just, it feels like whatever's gonna happen where like a 13 through 24 would go is gonna be so much more interesting than where 1 through 12 went, but that's just me. I like this episode. It's probably one of my least favorite episodes out of the batch. That's not me saying I hate it. I just think that it was a little overwhelming, but it has me more excited for the future. It's just, this is the type of episode that I think definitely is better in a binge than a weekly format, but hey, that's just me. But then again, anytime I say anything that isn't 100% positive, people act like I absolutely despise it, even if I say I've been enjoying the show this entire time. But what can you do? It is the internet. Let me know what you thought, though, of this week's episode down below. What did you think of that beatdown smackdown? Because I quite loved it. Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell. And like I mentioned, we got that full live reaction over on my Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Raj Vermullins, Diedrich Savon, and Davlin. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.